Alright, good morning everyone. So I'm Agnes, I'm from Student Affairs Department from Segi College Kuala Lumpur. So are you a first time who joined our webinar? If yes, please give a thumb, share, like and share our video for today. Before I start today's webinar, I would like to sound check first. If you can hear me, you can go to the comment section to maybe give me a thumbs up. Maybe you can say, yes, I can hear you. Okay. So a gentle reminder, if the video you feel is lacking or no sound, maybe you can refresh or you can give us a comment. Okay. So we are very glad because last time we have did this career experience sharing, we have did with Maybank and JobStreet. So this time we will have from Work Within. Last time we actually have did a few events with them. If you have joined our webinar, okay. So let's welcome. Hi, Suey.
Hello.
Okay, everyone can hear Suey? If can, also give us a thumb, give us a like, or maybe you can leave a comment there. So Suey is from Work Within. So Suey, do you want to introduce yourself?
Okay. Hi everyone, my name is Suey. I'm a registered and licensed counselor graduate with a master in counseling. So, hold on. So currently I'm a freelance counselor and provide both face-to-face and online counseling. And I'm also a workshop facilitator and speaker under Works Within. It's a platform to advocate mental health awareness and share psychology knowledge to different community like university students or working adults. And in the meanwhile, I'm also volunteer as a counselor for NGO as well as currently under Talian Kase under the Ministry of Women, Family and Community Development.
How long you have been in this industry?
I consider myself relatively new in this industry. I have been practicing since 3 years ago as an counseling intern and then graduated and got my license before I work as a licensed counselor. Yeah.
So how you across to counseling and between psychology?
My interest in counseling started like when I pursuing my degree in psychology, because since young I have been interested in human mind and behavior, and during the degree we have different electives to choose from. So back then I was still concerned about enrolling in counseling elective because I'm an introvert, and without any knowledge on counseling, I assume counseling is about talking to stranger in a closed place, and I cannot imagine myself do that. So, but interestingly, my perceptions on counseling changed completely as I attended counseling as a client back then. So in my school, we have this system when the intern counselor will offer free counseling sessions for the undergraduate students. At first, it was not an easy It was not easy to open up to a stranger, although my counselor showed lots of acceptance and respect. It was until when I faced my first significant grief in my life, and it was a bit hard to share the sorrow with my family because I do not want them to feel even sad. And it was also difficult to share with friends because they cannot relate with how I feel and what I was experiencing at that moment, even though I can feel they were supporting me. So at that point, I need someone to talk to, someone that is non-judgmental, someone I can share without worrying about himself or herself first, or constantly sharing this burden to this person. So, and the first person that came into my mind was my counselor. So I decided to talk about it in sessions and also curious about how is it like in counseling to deal with grief. So at that time, the trust was there between me and my counselor, and I was willing to share the vulnerability. I allowed myself to express my emotions, and my counselor provided me a safe space with non-judgmental stances. So that was my first encounter with counseling, that I can personally feel the healing power from the presence of a counselor and the space. So at the same time, I feel what if more people who are in need can feel the warmth, can heal, or can tap into their inner strength. And I realized how interested I was in helping people to stay present, to work on, and move through how painful life can be. And I realized that if I become trained in helping others, I will be more equipped with move through my own pain in this life. So from there, I started to discuss with my counselor and did some research to figure out this counseling career.
It's so meaningful as a counselor. But I would like to let you know, because we have in our Segi College KL, we do have a lot
Mhm,
of psychology student, but
mhm,
the audience today we are mainly focused on counseling because we are
mhm.
invite Suey is a registered counselor. So today we are main focus on counseling. So don't waste the time. We will go for the first question. So what is the counseling?
Okay, according to definition, counseling is a professional assistant to help you to cope with different problems, whether it's personal, emotional, behavioral, career related, relationships, educational, or life stage problems like retirement or getting married. So basically, it involves trained professionals to guide the client in exploring and working on their concern using both counseling skill and interventions that we have trained in to help the client reach their life goal.
Hmm. Okay, so student, if you have any question related to counseling or related to this webinar, you can leave your question in the comment so that end of before we end this webinar, we can discuss or we can talk about it. So next question. I think a lot of students will ask this. What is the difference between psychology and counseling?
Okay, based on my own understanding, psychology is the big umbrella and counseling is one of the subfield underneath it. So psychology is a broad term for the study of human mind and behavior with major branches of research and sub-area of applied psychology like social psychology, health psychology, and more. So they involve like observation, experimentation, testing to figure out the human processes and using this knowledge to understand and for treatment to enhance behavior in different settings like working place, school. So, what counseling is one of the subfield under the psychology. So we utilize this knowledge to provide counseling and help people. So, for example, if I believe I'm useless, my mind will direct my effort to only look for evidence that support this and pay less emphasis on moments and experience that I succeed or achieve. So this is a concept under one of the counseling theory, cognitive behavior theory, about how our perceptions, our thoughts, our belief about ourselves will influence our emotion and behavior reactions. So, for example, the belief I am unlovable may be driving the conditional rule. If I'm thin, then I will be loved by others, which may drive obsessive thinking about one's appearance and influence behavior such as excessive exercise or disorder eating habits. So by studying human minds and behavior, we know that thoughts is merely a thoughts until we treat it as fact. So what counseling does here is that if we apply, let's say, cognitive behavioral theory, is to focus on challenging these unhelpful thoughts and behavior, improve emotions, regulations, and facilitate coping skill that can target solving the problems.
So what exactly counseling do?
Actually, there are a lot of stereotype or depictions of counselor in movies that lets their image to being like reading your mind, detached, or ineffective. Most counselors today are active, engaged, using questions, interventions to help you move through your goals. So, our counseling is often undertaken as a one-to-one basis, but it can also involve both with couples, family, and groups. So, for the first sessions, the intake sessions, we focus on getting to know client, allow them to get an idea on how to proceed in counseling, explain the informed consent, like the confidentiality parts. So during this intake interview, we'll try to gather information from clients like symptoms, goals of counseling, and ask some questions about their history, for example, like childhood, educations, relationships, current living situations, as well as career. While the subsequent sessions will be more therapeutic in nature. So usually before the sessions, we'll go through case note and our session plan. And during the sessions, we'll make sure we are building a safe space, make sure the therapeutic relationships are there for clients to feel accepted, respected, and willing to open up. And in the sessions, we usually get updates about client first, and then review homework if there is, and carry out the plan of interventions, and end with summary and feedback. So the format of sessions also depend on what technique the counselor use. And throughout sessions, we'll do active listening, we empathize with client, we help them to see things more clearly or in a different way. And we also collaborate with clients to decide the treatment plan. We carry out the interventions. We help them to adjust if necessary and review the progress. So after the sessions, we'll do scheduling or room booking if necessary. And sometimes we also need to utilize like testing assessment, like personality tests, interest tests, career value tests, to help them achieve better understanding about themselves. And from time to time, we're also using psychoeducation. So psychoeducation is where we educate and provide information for the clients to understand their conditions better, to feel supported, and to take responsibility to make informed choice. So, for example, I have clients who suffer from insomnia. So after we rule out the biological part or the illness-related symptom, we explore sleep habit. I introduce sleep diary. We share about sleep hygienes and ways to improve sleep quality. And apart from the hours we spend doing counseling, we also write case note. So case note is brief notes on observations on client during sessions, the client's conditions, what counselor have done in the sessions, and how the clients respond, and our plan for the next sessions. And beside writing notes, we also attend supervision, research on issues, prepare for the next sessions, reading and self-reflections to ensure the treatment plan match with clients' needs. So we do spend a lot of extra time to complete these tasks, as well as for personal development like attending workshop, improving skill, and working on personal issues beside counseling.
Quite very detailed from the first primary first time section then until the end, and you are really explained clearly that what counseling do. So before I go into the next question, I will ask because as you say psychology is like an umbrella. Is it the psychology is like the theory that all the counselor must learn, but the counseling is more to technique? Are you agree that?
Uh, Actually, I saw questions that someone asked like if let's say she wants to become she want to enroll counseling, must be studying psychology or not. So actually, in Malaysia, the entry requirement, so it doesn't necessary to have the psychology background. But when you study counseling, you will find that knowing the psychology knowledge help a lot, because counseling somehow also function under the theory. So beside the counseling skill, the practical part, we also need to have the theoretical background to help us to work on the skill.
Okay, so wow, would that the person need very be active or social, like very outgoing, extrovert, then only can do the counseling?
I think this is also a common assumptions of psychology or counseling. Based on my opinion, I do not see that only extrovert can become a counselor. Because I see myself as like moderate to low in extroversions and high in introversion. So, but I'm able to create a safe atmosphere for my client and have good therapeutic relationships. So I think what is more important in becoming a counselor than being sociable, extroverted, outgoing, is having the interest in the human minds and behavior. I think that's the foundations for most career that involve dealing with people, the curiosity about human. And secondly, empathy, the capacity to understand and feel what clients are experiencing from within their frame of reference. For clients to feel they were listened and understood by their counselor. And lastly, also very important being a counselor, having the self-awareness and self-regulations to aware of what is going on inside us, understand, accept, and regulate if necessary, because humans are subjective, and when we counselor use ourselves as the tool to meet client as where they are, there's a possibility that our feelings, thoughts, and behavior might react in a way that affect the sessions or the outcome of counseling if we do not have the self-awareness. So I think having the interest, empathy, and self-awareness are more important, while your unique personality will make you a counselor that is different from other counselor. And in fact, every counselor is different.
So what are the other party or professional that you work closely with?
There are actually a lot, so including supervisor. Supervisor are trained counselor or clinical psychologists who are qualified and expertise in supervisions and handling certain types of concern. So when we do counseling, we want to make sure we are competent to handle certain cases that we have less experience with. So we seek supervisions from time to time. And we also work with other counselor or other mental health professionals, especially when we recognize we should have made a referral because our knowledge in that area is insufficient and may cause harm. And this includes getting in touch with like clinical psychologists where they are able to provide an assessment and diagnosis with regards to the client's mental health, or psychiatrists who train in medical model will be able to do diagnose and prescribe medications while counselor cannot. Hello?
Hi.
Ah,
Yeah, I think I have a call. I'm so
okay.
sorry to disturb, but I will pass. The next question is, what are the qualifications that one need to enter this field?
So to be a registered counselor in Malaysia, you need to have at least a degree in counseling guidance, like Bachelor of Guidance and Counseling, before registering in Lembaga Counselor Malaysia or Malaysia Board of Counselor. So if you are like me doing a degree that is not in counseling, then probably you need to further in master in counseling. So some general requirement if you want to practice as a counselor here in Malaysia, including meeting the education's requirements, and then you need to fulfill the requirement hour for practicum is about 240 hour, and then internship is about 504. So that as a graduate, you are eligible to attend the interview and apply for the license as a registered counsellor from Malaysia Board of Counsellor. Yeah.
So which means that counselor need to fulfill that hour, then
Mm-hmm.
only can go for the
Interview.
exam, the interview, then only will get the license, right?
Yep.
Okay. So psychology cannot.
If you want to further into counseling, you have to have either a degree in counseling or a master degree in counseling. So meaning you have to specialize if, let's say, your background is psychology.
So which means if a lot of our SEGI students, they are studying in ADP in psychology. So which means if they really want to get the license, they want to be the counselor, they need to go for master in counselor, right?
Yep.
Okay. So what are the important skill or knowledge that support the person to be a success in this field?
And I think the first most important is the extensive knowledge of counseling theory and techniques model. So generally speaking, during internships, the counselor will have opportunity to try out different modality, different theory, and to experience which one sit well with us. So as a counselor, usually we'll have at least like 2 to 3 counseling theories that we use interchangeably with different clients and contexts. And this also includes like skills to work with individuals and groups, as well as the ability to use assessment. Well, some of the tests will require further training. And on top of this, I think as a counselor, we need to make sure we keep on learning the knowledge of resources, the current trend. For example, like for the current pandemic, we need to aware how clients' mental health being affected by the pandemic. And we also need to have good management and leadership skill, and especially in terms of research and evaluation skill, and also having the respect for and the ability to work with different person from different background, like different ethnicity, different religion, different sexuality, social economy, and more. And one thing that I need to highlight is also in terms of having good understanding on legal and ethical issues, as well as the desire to operate within those framework. So, for example, ensure the client receive detailed information about their ethical and legal rights of confidentiality and data privacy, or establish and maintain a professional boundary, or we have to make sure we only counsel and conduct research in area within the bounds of our competency or level of educations, and recognize when we should make a referral. And the last one, the ability to use current technology. So for example, like phone counseling, online counseling, or like using Zoom or Google Hangout, because this is especially essential when situations do not permit like face-to-face counseling.
So as a counselor, it's really not easy. We need to have a interest. We need the empathy, and then we need to maintain our skill for the professionals. So what I believe a lot of society, a lot of public, they will have a misconcept. So Suey, do you have faced any misconcept about counseling?
I think in Malaysia, the counseling field is growing and developing, but on the same time, I think the stigma or the misconceptions about this job is still around us. So a lot of people assume like counseling is just merely talking. So what is the point of seeking counseling if they can talk to their friend? I think what makes counseling different from talking to your friend is that in the counseling, the focus is on you, the client. So in a friendships, both you and your friend listen to one another struggle and support each other. But then in the therapeutic relationships, the focus is on you. And even during a times when we do share something about ourselves, we call it self-disclosure, is with the client in mind. So for example, I share with clients that I also suffer with stage fright, with the intentions to normalize the experience of anxiety and help my clients to feel understood, but at the same time also acknowledge that every person's experience is unique to them. And as a counselor, unlike being a friend, we are objective. We do not have a personal relationship with the client the way a friend does. So we will not be influenced by personal feeling. We will be unbiased when looking at the situations and hearing the client's story. And because we have been trained in the therapeutic conversations, assessment, interventions, so although sometimes it may feel like a casual conversations, we may ask questions during a sessions to help them to uncover meaning or reflect on life experiences and how these shape their current situations. So we'll help them to make connections, to discover hidden emotion, look at their thoughts and or how their self-talk contribute to their feelings. So all this make counseling and talking to a friend relatively different. And there's also a doubt that how can talking to a person who do not know you in person, like a complete stranger, can help? So actually, this is one of the most important reason why counseling can be successful. Since a counselor is not part of your day-to-day life, we are capable of being more impartial with less bias. When things aren't going quite right, we want advice, we mostly usually turn to our family or friends, people that know us, care about us. So having social connection is extremely important to maintain the mental wellness. But sometimes our loved one normally may not have the skill or the objectivity needed. We are not like recommending that you need to turn away from your loved one or their advice can't be helpful, but counselors are an excellent additional resource to guide them through difficult time. And last one, a lot of people assume counseling is about fixing problem or assume what counselor do is telling client what they should do now. If only we have a magic wand, okay. Client often ask me like what they should do or they want advice. I understand that desperations. If you knew what to do, you might not be in therapy, right? But it's not my role or counselor role to tell client what's best for them in life, unless I feel they are threatening their safety. But counseling can help them to identify a full range of perspective rather than a narrow snapshot. And I can go deeper with them in their internal experience and identify patterns in their life that probably served them at some point, but no longer helpful. The most frustrating part of counseling is taking in that counselor cannot make decisions for client, but a good counselor can help them to explore what is going on in their life to enhance their life. And it is much more empowering to and sustainable to clients to come up with the solutions rather than the counselor, I believe.
Yeah, I do agree all the misconceptions that Suey have mentioned because I am
Mhm.
a counselor also. I do have a lot of client or our student. Maybe they walk in, Miss, can you give me a solution that how can I solve this or how they will put the meaning that oh you are the counselor, you should know, you should do this, you should do
Give
that.
me the answer.
Yes, yes. So, audience, if you have any concept or you have any
Mhm.
idea, you also can leave in the comments so that later we can tell you is it our counselor role or is it
Mhm.
our task that we are helping for you. Okay, so
Mhm.
please
Mhm.
do write your comment in the comment section. So, what kind of a role that counselor play in a various setting?
So, in general, where we usually call a person or professional who do counseling as counselor, but actually we have different types of counselor handle and specialize on different type of concern and issues. Like for example, mental health counselor is the general one, provide treatment to different clients, populations experiencing like mental or emotional conditions, life transitions, stress, and etc. On the other hand, we have like career counselor like Agnes. So focus on career development, help students to identify and develop skill they need to achieve like educational or career goals. So sometimes it also provides services for individual who opt for career shift or career advancement. And in school setting, we also have like school counselor to provide career guidance for and to help students navigate their academic challenge, and also have marriage and family therapies who focus on helping individual couples family to learn relationship skill like communications and then cope with relationships issues like separation, divorce, and abuse. And we also have various specializations, so meaning that after you become a counselor, it doesn't mean that's the end, but you can actually work on specializing in different issue or concerns to continue develop to provide a better service. For example, like crisis interventions and trauma. So this involve like crisis management model, intervention strategies to help the individual or community to recover from stressful events like natural disaster or other traumatic experience. And for example, we have also art therapy, integrate training in drama, music, dance, visual arts with clinical training to motivate clients in expressing and confronting their emotional and behavioral issues. So when clients faced with concern, they actually can look for counselor or professionals who have more experience and specialize in handling certain cases. And specializations do not limit to dealing with certain types of concerns, but also like different theory, modality, or techniques counselor use. So, for example, we can further study and train on to obtain certifications in certain modality like certified in cognitive behavioral therapy, solution focused therapy, emotional focused therapy, and more. Yep.
So, which means that counselor is need to keep learning, keep
Mm-hmm.
experience the new things. So I would like to ask in personally to Suey, how do you feel it about when you want to pick up something new that you're not familiar? Because like what you have mentioned just now, as a counselor, we do need to learn a lot of skill or technique to help the client.
Mm-hmm.
So how do you feel that? How do you
I think
manage it?
I think, of course, feeling nervous about something new, something uncertain. And when I first saw these questions, it reminded me my first few clients as an counseling intern. Because despite role play practices throughout the courses, I was so nervous before my first sessions. As counselor, we have an intimate connections with people life and well-being. So I didn't know like what it was going to look like. So I remember I started out by doing counseling with my first client for intake that lasts for like 1 to 1.5 hours. And with client permissions, the sections is actually recorded for supervision purpose, which is even nerve-wracking. And but once I was there seated, I was surprised how natural it felt like to be with someone else's pain. I wasn't thinking about myself. At first, it was like, how am I going to be able to talk to this person for an hour? Or what if I get stuck and not knowing what to say? But time just fly by and the process was quite smooth. So I want to mention that counseling is an interesting field. So being in these professions allowed me to learn that no one client is alike, and so I must have the ability to adjust to different ways of therapy. So every day, every sessions with every client, we are learning something new about counseling, about client, about ourselves. And throughout the process, I think I am getting used to pick up something new from time to time. And in fact, it's something that counselors have to do by constantly staying abreast and in tune with what is new in the field to ensure our continuing education is relevant to the particular field of study. Mhm.
Like us now, we are adapting the new norm. We do talk also need to
Mhm.
be the webinar. Like now we are using the slide, we live on the screen. So I will help my student to ask a more realistic question is, can you tell us that how the salary about the counselor, the
Mhm, mhm.
salary
A
rank?
realistic
Yeah,
questions.
yes, yes.
It really depends on your education level and the experience and skill you equip with. So generally like salary ranging from 2K to 3K plus is common for new counselor. And for example, someone who is certified and trained in certain types of therapy is possibly getting more pay than a fresh grad. Okay, and not to mention other income like private practice or running group counseling sessions, organizing workshop, talk. So it really depends on how you upgrade yourself and your skill and what you want in this, career.
So now we're going to more. Oh yes, is the rank, the entry salary like counseling.
Mm-hmm.
So the next question: how's the working environment like, and how's the working schedule for the counselor?
Work is usually office based, although depends on the setting of your working environment or what type of counselor you are. You may work from home in shared premises or travel to different locations to provide counseling services. Like setting includes like hospital, school, university, NGO or workplace. So, for example, as compared to freelance counselor in university work in office hour, deal with students based on appointment as well as work in, and not only do counseling but also cover the administrative tasks at the center. And from time to time, they also need to work during weekends, such as like the university open day, educational fair. On the other hand, freelance counselor, part-time counselor, or counselor in private center may require evening or weekend work to meet with clients. So there are actually a lot of diversity in this career depend on your context.
So Suey, you describe the uni counselor is my job task, right? Yeah, so it's very true. As a
Mm,
counselor, it's not only we do in college or we do in the school, but we do have in hospital or freelance counselor. We
mm-hmm.
also will have. So yeah, personally to ask you, what do you think the
Mm-hmm.
most challenging thing that in this field?
Mm. I think although we are trained in helping clients through difficult and trying moments, there are challenges that we are facing related to the stressor of the job as well. Even though counseling brings like meaning, satisfactions, it is also an emotionally demanding career. So, for instance, I need to care about my clients, hold them in positive regard. I cannot do this unless I'm emotionally attached to some extent. I want to be attached to the depth necessary, but not so attached that I feel an unnecessary burden of responsibility for their problems. So I must learn to recognize my role in their life, and there must be a balance in my level of attachments. One of the key of being an effective counselor is the ability to not be sucked into their subjective world. So, for example, spending time with a very depressed clients who see the glass half empty all the time may have the power to convince me that their life really is that horrible. But if I believe their life is hopeless, who will offer them hope? So I must learn to maintain a sense of objectivity while also empathizing with their subjective experience. And the key to enter their subjective world only is to only to the depth necessary to empathize and then able to become objective again by having a perspective outside of their perspective. And many people say they could not be a counselor because they would think or they would worry about their client when they went home. Many counselors think they are good at turning off their mind when they leave work, and but are they really? It is hard not to. I think Agnes can also agree. It's hard to not think about a client who is suicidal and wonder if they will return to their next sessions. When I'm lying in bed at night, it's difficult not to contemplate about my client's problem and attempt to think about solutions. So being a counselor can be a bit like walking a tightrope. So we need to strike the right balance between empathy and objectivity. We need to, because the work can be emotionally demanding, we need a good support framework to make sure we are taking care of ourselves as much as or more than we are taking care of our clients sometimes.
my head is keep locking because it's all challenging that we are facing. Because I do agree. My first class for the counseling, my lecturer was telling me, you don't think that counselor is carrying the problem until you went home, keep thinking to get the solution. You need to do you need to be very professional when you're doing the session. Only focus on your client and you give the best professional skill or helping in that section. So which means after the section you can't bring back the problem to your home. Yeah, so work-life balance, a lot of people now will say work-life balance. So this is the counselor life, that work-life balance for us is also very important. So how does the counseling field adapt to the MCO or the pandemic now?
I think we all know that like 2020 seems to be a year full of uncertainty, anxious, and many individuals in the public, I think including myself, are fearful of contracting the virus. And thinking about the potential effect of the virus can trigger our stressor and further impact our mental well-being while we are already stressed out about like what might happen to our life and how the number of cases and deaths as reported in the media, and also the stress from financial constraint. So especially when the MCO started, we observed that anxiety and stress could be worse due to the lack of resources like social support because of social distancing, postpone of important event, feeling of grief due to loss of our pre-pandemic normalcy. For example, the experience of having a meal outside or watching a movie or go for a shopping center is no longer the same. So during this time, a lot of counseling services go online because we want to make sure our clients stay safe while having the access to the support and services during this uncertainty. And there are also actually increasing number of volunteer services through online counseling or phone counseling, given that there's increased amount of individuals who feel anxious, stressful, or helpless about the changes. So, as a counselor providing services during pandemic, we also make sure we are ready to help. Like we prepare ourselves with the resources on like how to provide counseling during a pandemic, using online format, and how to do tele-counseling. What is the ethics in providing tele-counseling? Or we took courses and workshop online to make sure we learn about like psychology first aid or the COVID-19 knowledge. So during this period, I have been attended to like cases regarding relationship issues. So for example, due to increased spend time and at home and increased conflict, or some client convey about loneliness for not able to meet loved one, or stress due to changes in financial situations and career. So in these periods, we try to help clients who are struggling with the transitions, who feel lonely, anxious, to regulate their emotions and help them to adjust to the changes. It is also challenging to provide counseling while at the same time we are also experiencing the same pandemic. So we are also anxious and nervous. And being a competent counselor also means we have to take care of ourselves, our mental health. We do self-care, we practice our coping skill, meditations, carry out hobby, and access to resources like support group during this pandemic. So meaning while we providing services, we also as an individual, as a human, counselor also need to take care of themselves.
Even pandemic is really not good, not good situation. But for the people who seeking counseling, is keep increasing. Is good because it's created awareness for us also. Yeah. So how do people around perceive the counselor role?
One of the most common one, I think Agnes might also agree, is like they assume we can read their mind, or even psychology graduate might also have the similar experience. Like, you are analyzing me, aren't you? So it happened a lot, especially among friends when we offer listening ear. We might actually naturally ask some questions to explore, allow them to reflect, which make them feel like we are analyzing them. So at time I have to remind the people close to me or even myself that I'm not their counselor, but instead I'm also incredibly biased and subjective in my relationships to them. I'm also not the ideal sample of a perfect human being. And even counselors share the humanity in their own life of feeling lost. Sometimes we make mistakes. We have to manage our own insecurity, rejections. We experience loss and heartbreak. We're all trying to get through this human experience as best we can. So sometimes client also feel like their counselor have it all figured out, never get sick, never get stressed, never late due to traffic jam, never feel sad and hurt. But while counselor may have variable training in human behavior or psychological theory, we are still human and not robot.
Yes, we are not X-ray eye. We won't we won't you stand in front of us, we won't scan your brain or what you are thinking now. Yeah. So what is the more attractive thing that keep you in this field? As we
Mm,
from the beginning until now, we heard a lot.
mm.
We need a lot of skill. We need our inner strength. We need our interest. So, Suey, what is the most attractive thing that keep you in this counseling field?
I think it's my interest in the human mind and behavior, and also the passions to guide people to help themselves. Because I feel like being in this field is a privilege for me. A lot of clients I encounter know what to do, but struggle to do what they know. So I learned that telling someone something is not nearly as helpful as creating the space for them to have new experience, even if it's as simple as being in contact with emotions and not responding in their old patterns. I feel that it's my honor to sit with them, to provide space for them, and they allow me to see from their perspective, to enter their world. I think it's a precious gift for being a counselor, to work with them, to being part of their journey. So this career bring me meaning and purpose. And some people set off into these professions thinking that they are going to help so many people. But the biggest tip I ever received is that our most important role of a counselor is to help people to help themselves.
Mm, yes, this is a very attractive thing that we can know a counseling field. Yeah. Okay, so audience, before we end up, so we still have time. Before I go into the last question, you please ask as much as question you want to ask us in the comment section so that later we can discuss. Yes. I'm very sorry for Suey because today is only me in the office, so suddenly the door is
You have
student is
to.
yeah, I have to run here, run there. So sorry for the audience also. You will see sometimes I was missing
Disappear.
my yeah, disappear, but Suey, you do very good to manage yourself here.
I
Yeah,
stay present.
yeah. So anyone have any question? Anyone have any question? If don't have, I will go to the last question. Could
Mhm.
you give those who wish to enter this field some advice?
Okay, this is my opinion as a new counselor. Some people probably don't realize that counselor may see each client for like maybe 15 minutes or 60-minute sessions, but couple of hours a week go into researching what can help his or her case, consult with psychiatry or other therapy. So there are a lot of more time that goes into this job on a weekly basis than people are properly aware of. And there are also a lot of overhead like training or office space rental, supervision, marketing costs to get new client or maintain current clients, paying for memberships to like psychological associations and groups. So all these things are truly necessary to provide top-notch client care. So it is important for those who are entering these professions today is to have faith and stay focused. I learned that building my counseling practice takes time, finances, planning, and execution. So I find that self care, being mindful, and having the support of your friends and families are important. It is also helpful to collaborate and consult with other professionals. So by doing my part to add to the health and well-being of others and my community, I find counseling to be a fulfilling career. And if you are interested to join this field, this career, welcome.
Yeah, really welcome. Welcome be a counselor. Be one of us. Yeah. So student, do you have any question? Really thank you, Suey, for keep sharing with us in this 1 hour. So yeah, we're going to the Q&A session. So anyone want to ask any question, you can leave your question in the comment. Okay. Anyone? It's really a good sharing. We differentiate the psychology and counseling. We share a lot as a counselor, what we will face, what we will challenge, and share. Suey also share a lot of personal how's your experience, how's your internship. Yeah. So student, please ask a question.
I think for people who are interested to get to know counseling, one way is actually to try out the counseling by themselves. So if you are interested to know more about counseling, to study counseling, or to become a counselor, maybe you can try out the counseling services like your education institutions provided or other NGO. To try out as a client to see how is it feel like to sit on the chair or how to observe how the counselor work, so you can have a clear understanding on what is counseling.
But during the session, please don't judge the counselor. Okay. So this is the contact info for Work Within. Suey from Work Within. So this is the contact info. If audience you want to know more about career psychology or you want to get in touch with Suey, you can please screenshot. Maybe you can screenshot. You can call this. You can WhatsApp this number, or you can drop an email to them. Please follow their Instagram and Facebook also. Okay. Yeah. So I will leave it in 5 seconds. So let me check any comment, student or audience that you want to ask about counseling. You want to know more. Okay. So if don't have for SEGI student, remember me and Pearly is always here with you. So if you want to make an appointment with us, you really want to experience the counseling, please contact us. You can WhatsApp us or you can drop an email or you can scan this QR code to make appointment. Okay? Yeah. So if you want more information, please come to Student Center, come and see us. We will guide you or we can give you the advice. So yeah, lastly, please do this feedback form. Please give us some feedback or suggestion that you think how about this webinar or you want to give praise to Suey. Please do this feedback form and follow our Facebook and Instagram. We do have a lot of webinar talk in following month. So please follow us and help us to scan this QR code for the feedback form. Wow, Suey, we thought we can't finish in 1 hour, but the time is almost. Yeah, we managed to. Yeah, so student, do you have any question? If really don't have, I think we can end up here. So thank you, Suey.
So thank you so much for inviting me also.
You are welcome. So thank you, Suey, from Work Within to share a lot of personal experience, advice to our audience. So hope we see you again.
Yep.
Yeah,
Thank you.
So thank you, everyone. So bye.